So that's rolling. Last thing I need to do is go through our hearing script. This basically just covers the procedure for the hearing. And then we'll jump right into it. So this is the November 17th, 2021 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I am the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati, and I will preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20210163. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless a party has presented testimony or evidence in the form of writing prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll give our zoning plans examiner, Doug Owen, an opportunity to present any testimony that he would like. And then in the event any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make a closing statement. So for our purposes here today, I'll give Mr. Peregrine, sorry, man, I'm going to keep butchering that. And Mr. Benton an opportunity to both speak. And you guys can, one person can speak or both. It's completely up to you how you want to orient the presentation here. But I basically just want to hear about why this is appropriate, why I should grant this special exception, and any background on the project you think is appropriate for me to understand the full context. I'll give Doug an opportunity to weigh in and then give you guys an opportunity to respond to anything Doug said or any of my questions throughout and make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I'll close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. This is generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at this hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with our video conferencing technology, we'll do our best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. Okay, I think that's it. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of the witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing this hearing, then you need to be sworn in. So if that is you, if you could take yourself off mute and raise your right hand, I need everybody to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Okay, who's going to be taking the lead here on telling me about this application?
I guess that would be me.
Okay. Floor is yours.
Okay, so the building, which was previously an automobile repair shop, is on 1635 Reading Road. Known as the Bavarian building, I guess. The current occupancy is S1. Queen City is renovating the space to have its business offices on the second floor, 3,696 square feet. Currently, the building is a shell, and we are doing an interior fit out and a change of occupancy going through the building permit process. The upstairs will be business. The first floor will be assembly A3. Queen City plans to have their business offices on the second floor with use of the first floor for gatherings and services. Currently, the Queen City is using Memorial Hall as their place of worship. And
We're actually at Withrow High School again.
So you're at Withrow High School?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got back to Withrow back in September.
We
were at Memorial Hall for a year. We started out at Withrow September of 18, went to Memorial Hall September 2020 after 6 months of being online due to COVID. But we're back at Withrow High School now.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
The business requirements for parking for the Cincinnati zoning code will require 16 spots. The current property will be restriped. We'll provide 12 parking stalls with 2 accessible stalls, one for a van and one for a car. The church has there's a parking garage. If you look at the site plan, there's a parking lot, parking lot immediately next door to the site that provides, I believe, 46 spots. So the church has an agreement with the owner, it's just Talbert House, to rent 5 spots during the day for business use. And then in the evenings and in the weekends, they have full access to that lot as well as their own, which would provide 46 additional. Is that correct?
I believe the Talbert lot, is it not 34?
34, correct. Yeah, let's see.
And the 5 spots during the day that is their business hours. So like an 8 to 5 type time frame, we would have signage for 5 specific spots, and then they've granted access, like you said, after hours, after normal operating business hours and weekends.
Okay. And we've included the lease agreement with the application. And that's it. I believe you also have an agreement, but not a rental agreement with the lot directly to the north of that as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's more of a verbal. So there's a lot further north up Reading. It's about 89 to 90-ish spots that kind of belongs to that Deaconess Health building right there. And that the guy that owns that building is not open necessarily to sign an agreement, which is fine, because he has hopes or potential clients that could be like have a second or third shift for their business, and he just has to have that lot, flexible at any time to be used after hours or whatnot. And so it's more of a relational, hey Andrew, we need to use your lot, May whatever 2022, is that okay? And it's more of a conversation, and if it's available, which it more than likely would be, then that's how that would work. He's not signing a written agreement.
I see. But our parking requirements are satisfied with the additional lots under this lease agreement directly to the north with Talbert House.
Right.
So that's in a nutshell.
Okay. So is this building, will it also be used for religious services, or is it just for office administrative matters?
The first floor, we won't do Sunday services there. We will continue to do Sunday services at Withrow High School in we're a portable church. We don't have a building just yet. So we won't do Sunday services. We would have our worship team doing their rehearsal on Wednesday evenings. We'll have certain events there and gatherings, like Brett said, but we wouldn't do a full-on Sunday service in that building on a Sunday.
Gotcha. Okay. And are you anticipating that there will be a need for, what is that, 46 or 50 parking spots based on the activities that will be going on?
The only times we should see that type of usage would be, we do have a gathering every Saturday morning for just an hour. We call it Saturday prayer. There's usually 25 to 40 people that come to that. And then we currently do it elsewhere in the city, of course. But that would be every Saturday morning from 9 to 10, so an hour, where we would need to utilize the Talbert House lot. And then there's going to be team nights bi-monthly throughout the next year on Tuesday nights. So there's going to be different little things that we're doing with our team and with people within our church that we'll utilize. But that's the majority of those things will be after hours or weekends, after normal business hours.
Okay. All right, great, thanks. I think I'll give Doug Owen an opportunity to weigh in here. Doug, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't have a whole lot aside from, what's stated in the staff report. So I generally agree with most of what has been said here today. That's a total parking requirement of 45 spaces based on the religious assembly use, which is measured for the primary gathering area in the building. So that comes to 45 spaces. They're providing the 12 on site, and we'll get the remainder at the adjacent lot. So because it's not done through an easement or a covenant, the special exceptions required for a lease agreement, because the easement and the covenant are the only forms of documentation that the zoning code recognizes for offsite parking. So that's where the special exception comes into play. So, other than that, we don't really have an issue with the proposed solution for this. It sounds like it is workable, with Talbert House submitting a letter saying that they have the capacities to support these additional parking spaces for this use. So we are recommending approval of the variances. We do have some conditions here, which is our standard language that is typically applied to parking leases such as this.
Gotcha. Okay. So I assume, Doug, that the reason the easements and the covenants are the necessary or the required docs on these is because they're irrevocable by one side, right? So is there any concern here that Talbert House could sell to a different owner and they could lose this parking and then?
Yeah, that's always a concern with lease agreements, which is where that additional language and those conditions come in. That's the language we would like to see in the lease agreement, specifically, that it has to be at least a 15-year lease, however that's broken up into whatever terms is, can be decided by the applicant and the owner. But we do want a long-term lease. And then we do also have language in there that that if the lease agreement is terminated, the city must be notified. And basically that would mean that that the church use would have to find additional parking elsewhere if that lot becomes unavailable. And then, if they're unable to secure that parking, then potentially the certificate of occupancy could be revoked.
Gotcha. Okay. I've probably driven past this building thousands of times. Like, if this parking lease were to, if you weren't able to use that lot for parking, there's not a whole lot of other options right there, right?
Yeah, that's very accurate. There's the little random lot off Elsinore, so in between our space and the arch, the castle at CPO, there's that little 40 or so space lot. But I think that's another one that's really, I think it's Xavier has some type of lease with that little lot, that little random lot, and because they use that medical building right across the street from us. And then there is that 80 or so, 90 so lot further north up Reading that Brett mentioned earlier, we spoke about earlier, that maybe if we get to that point where for some whatever reason Talbert, their lease ends and they move, and then someone else takes over their spot and takes over that lot. I'm sure we would have to circle back with those conversations with those two lots, and I don't know what or whatever whoever the new occupant would be, or the owner of that lot that we're talking about next to ours. I'm sure we could hopefully find some type of common ground with someone to let us use some parking. But yeah, you're accurate. There's not a ton to choose. There's no street parking. It's a high traffic area, and so the only other parking is down the street, which is Staples or the casino, which that's not ideal, of course, and not So
yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else you guys want to tell me in closing or otherwise here before we wrap up? Okay. So I'm inclined to grant this. I don't really see any adverse impacts here, that just based on the location of the site, the type of use. I think if this parking does dry up, the church is going to bear the brunt of any adverse impacts. And so I think we can approve this. I do need to type up my decision in a formal opinion. That does take a couple weeks, just based on the queue of decisions I have right now. And so as soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I send it to everybody who's in this hearing. And so you guys will have it just moments after it's complete. And as soon as you do have that, you can start working with Doug on any necessary permitting. I am going to take a little bit closer look at some of these suggested conditions that Doug put in his staff report, and just put them, make sure that legally speaking that they all make sense, and then I will include those in the decision, so they'll be at the end, and so it'll be approved. But let me just take a closer look at these decisions, or I'm sorry, these conditions. And you guys will see what those are as soon as the written opinion comes out. Any other questions right now, guys?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, if you
Good as
do,
well.
okay, if anything comes up, feel free to reach out to myself or to Doug if you have any questions in between now and when the decision is issued, or if you want an update on the status of the decision, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for your time and your testimony. Good luck with the new location. I hope
Thank you
all
so
have a wonderful
much.
day.